Have you guys noticed that Zionists have changed their strategy?
Majority of Gen Z have an unfavorable impression of Israel. And my friends, I think the reason for that is that we're losing the digital war. And we have to figure out a way to win the digital battle.
שלום, נעים מאוד, קוראים לי אילנה שטיין, אני עובדת במשרד החוץ. אני רוצה לספר לכם קצת איך גם אתם יכולים לעזור לדימוי של ישראל בעולם.
I was in Europe recently, and I was just bombarded with these Israeli government ads. Every time I tried to watch a YouTube clip, there is a battle for hearts and minds.
I cannot believe how openly pro-Palestine this new Superman movie was.
Without a doubt, that is genuinely the most pro-Palestine I have seen a mainstream film ever be.
DC Universe's latest Superman film is stirring political debate online, with many viewers saying the story offers a thinly veiled critique of Israel's war on Gaza.
And that was absolutely mind-blowing to me, that you can have this major Hollywood blockbuster that instead of like in the old days, it was always like the bad guy country was clearly the Soviet Union. Now it's Israel. That seems like just an incredibly significant cultural shift.
We got to get our digital sneakers on.
The Israeli government is paying MAGA influencers millions of dollars to come to Israel for a propaganda school. All because the Israeli government is realizing that the young people, Gen Z, are turning away from Israel and waking up to what's happening in Gaza.
When this debate pops up on your social media feed or on campus, what is the most persuasive pro-Israel point?
I would try to educate about Islamic terrorism.
Anyone can become an activist for Israel, anywhere, at any time. Welcome to the Activism app. Now, time for action.
I am living out the Zionist dream. I have been at Meta for almost 9 years. After many years of working in the government, I am now part of an incredible tech company. In addition to my work leading the Israel public policy team, I created a new role. We banned content claiming Zionists run the world or control the media.
TikTok's new hate speech manager is ex-Israeli Forces instructor Erica Mindel. Her role will include focusing on moderating anti-Semitic content. Mindel previously served as an armored corps instructor for the Israeli Forces.
I think that Israel is not doing a good enough job with telling our story, our perspective.
While Israel cleared hundreds of trucks that crossed into Gaza, the UN refuses to distribute the aid.
So we're really living through just the most enormous propaganda campaign that we can really envisage.
Because we have to remember, Israel has an almost infinite control and sway over Western media. So it can say the most idiotic, ridiculous thing.
I think that the word genocide, when it comes to the IDF, is completely unacceptable. Our belief, our values, our liberal democratic values, and that sets us apart from the jihadists, the fundamentalistic, and of course, exactly like the regime in Iran.
Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. I want to assure the civilized world.
That's Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel himself, which really shows the importance of this propaganda operation for the Israeli government.
Now, as important as the war of missiles and guns are for Israel, is the propaganda war for Western hearts and minds.
I think that our mind is still largely occupied and colonized.
And to that end, the Israeli government has increased its budget for foreign public relations by more than 2,000%.
If you need millions of dollars for propaganda to justify these violent acts, there is something wrong with your purpose. And the world needs to wake up to this.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack in this one.
Have you ever seen the old logo for Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency? It used to say, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. They had that logo up to the 70s. I bring this up to highlight that trickery is nothing new to Israel. Deception and lies are par for the course. And these lies are the basis of their Hasbara.
What is that? A new drug?
Well, Meryl Streep, Hasbara is not exactly a drug, although it works like one. Hasbara in Hebrew literally means explanation. In the context of Israeli public diplomacy, or PR, it refers to a strategic communication effort aimed at influencing perceptions and shaping narratives, particularly in favor of Israel.
It wasn't just about facts. It was about protecting people from harmful conduct. It wasn't just about facts.
Israel is very much like a company that constantly has to do damage control through its PR, through its Hasbara. Once upon a time, their Hasbara used to be a very effective drug. It worked like magic.
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic.
But it's not working as well these days, because the world sees Israel for the criminal ethno-state that it is. So now they feel the need to switch tactics.
My baby just accidentally turned on the TV and this started playing.
So in this video, we're going to get into these new PR tactics of theirs. Think of this video as everything you need to know about Israel's new PR strategy. But unfortunately for Israel, even this new PR, or this Hasbara 2.0, is
complete and utter flop.
By the way, that was me playing Meryl Streep. And she's gonna pop up throughout this video. Because without laughing and clowning around, the thought that this genocide continues unabated makes me want to throw myself off a roof. So as always, I'll be using my drag therapy to help me cope so I can keep going. As I always say, I'm in denial so you can wake up.
It's a metaphor. A what? A metaphor!
So, Hasbara 2.0.
The foreign ministry alone is slated to spend over $150 million this year on propaganda and public relations.
This is 20 times the budget pre-genocide. So they know they need to invest more in covering up their crimes.
So where does all of this money go?
In the past few weeks alone, my investigation found that the Israeli government have managed to reach at least 45 million Europeans on YouTube alone. So that doesn't include Google ads themselves, ads on Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, TikTok, whatever.
And not only are they investing more, they're switching strategy, which is the point of this video. Here are some of the main pillars of this new direction. Camouflaging the spokespeople, using an offend instead of defend strategy. Third one is redefining Zionism and reinventing Jewish victimhood and hiding the money. By the way, the initial concept for this video was inspired by a tweet from James Lee, great journalist. And he highlighted pillars of the Hasbara 2.0. I've taken the liberty to expand on some, change some, retweak some, but yeah. So, are you ready to dive in?
No, that's all right.
Okay, fine, Meryl. Then we'll start slow with a short example of each pillar. So here's an example of the first pillar, which is delivering the talking points through not official spokespeople, but influencers and people who seem independent.
So New York City just nominated this guy, Zohran Mamdani.
This lady looks like a nice person, and she's in her car, and she's talking about Zohran because it's just like, you know, what she thinks about off the top of her head.
You're indoctrinated as a young person in America to believe that capitalism is bad and all your problems are because of these evil business owners. But I have to warn young people who are caught up in the Mamdani vibe.
Turns out this lady is the social media producer for the Free Press. The Free Press is a media front for billionaires like Harlan Crow, Mark Andreessen, and TikTok's largest U.S. investor, Jeffrey Yas.
And here's an example of the second pillar, going on the offensive instead of defending.
Never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first.
Basically, they know the world hates them, so they're like, fuck it. So they start saying ridiculous things like there's no such thing as Palestinian suffering. The third pillar in their new PR is redefining Zionism. They know quite well that people are starting to see that Zionism is a capitalist project for the 1%. So they're going in hard on linking, or relinking, because they've always done it, Zionism with Jewish identity. But this is going into overdrive.
I'm a Jew. Of course I'm Zionist. Israel is my ancestral indigenous homeland.
The fourth one, and this is the one I'm most excited about dissecting, is redefining Jewish victimhood.
You know, my daughter is a soldier. She was enlisted 4 months ago. I know my daughters. I know her morals. There is no way that our soldiers are deliberately trying to kill civilians. My two daughters, the oldest one is 18 and the other one is 15. We've been running to shelters for almost 2 years.
And this PR tactic, I believe, is directed at Jews themselves. We all know that the very existence of the Zionist project is dependent on Jews believing that everyone's out to kill them. For their identity. Not for their crimes, for their identity. But with more Jews starting to separate themselves from the state of Israel and what it does, the Hasbara needs to double down on its efforts.
I went into Gaza just on a trip during the war, and I with the IDF, and I went into one of the terror tunnels. And for me, you're looking at these miles and miles of tunnels, and they're monuments. These are monuments to how much they hate us. They've built, this is their underground cathedral. to the god of their hate.
By the way, the delusion in this interview blew my mind, and we're going to get into it later, because it's part of a series on this podcast called The State of Tel Aviv, and this series is about Piers Morgan, because you know they can't stand it when someone in the public eye or famous starts to go against the narrative. Oh my god. They're obsessed with fame and PR. It's all about image. Every time Israelis see someone in the Western media questioning them,
What the hell do you think you're doing?
they can't bear it. So they double down on re-traumatizing Jews to get them back in line, become good soldiers, and start doing PR for Israel.
So get in there and get to work.
Because not only do Israelis have to serve in the military, they have to serve in the military of information, the PR war. Like, you're a good soldier if you just spread the Hasbara around the world.
אז קודם כל נדבר על מה זה בכלל הסברה, מה המצב שלנו בעולם, איך אתם חושבים שאנחנו צריכים לעשות את זה. אם אתה בעיניים של מישהו מחול, אתם חושבים על דברים שליליים. ואני צריכה להגיד שלצערי הרב זה גם נכון. אתם רואים נגיד את התמונה הזאת, שאנחנו רואים טנק וילד קטן. עכשיו בתמונה הזאת אנחנו יודעים שהטנק זה אנחנו, ואנחנו מרגישים שאנחנו אלה שמתגוננים, נכון? אנחנו צבא ההגנה לישראל. והילד הזה שמרים אבן, הוא בעצם תוקף אותנו. הבעיה זה שמי שמסתכל על זה ככה סתם, הוא לא רואה את זה. מבחינתו, מי שבטנק, הוא בוודאי התוקפן. אז מה שאנחנו מנסים לעשות זה להסביר את התמונה הזאת, ובאיזשהו מובן זה מה שאנחנו קוראים unhasbarable.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so that's been enough of a teaser. Now let's dive into each pillar separately. First one is camouflaging the spokespeople. Again, instead of Israeli officials delivering the talking points, the Israeli government now will funnel money to independent influencers, organizations, and activists. I'm sure you've heard of the lovely Destiny. What a divine being, who is among a few big influencers shilling for Israel.
Which is, how many Palestinians are you going to kill before you say it's enough? And you have no answer.
Sure. This is my frustrating thing when it comes to talking about international conflict. It is so frustrating to hear over and over again, 150 Palestinians, 150 Palestinians, 150, that doesn't get us anywhere closer to anything.
Now, like all influencers who speak up for Israel, they deny, of course, that they're getting paid to do that. Like they're doing it on their own. Really, Destiny? So we're supposed to believe that you travel all the way to Israel to give a media training to the soldiers on your own dime. Just like that.
Here's the one piece of advice I'll give you, okay? If you're joining the IDF, okay? Leave your fucking cell phone at home and stop taking stupid fucking videos, okay?
Who does that? Who goes to a foreign country and talks to the soldiers about how they can cover up their crimes? And that's the whole other thing. Like, I'm not even touching how disgusting it is that you're telling these soldiers that not that they should stop wearing the underwear of the woman they kill. No, that they should do it off camera.
Because everybody's fucking you with them, okay? And if you see a soldier, okay, going through a fucking drawer, and listen, if you want to fucking wear a dress and you think it's funny, just don't fucking take a fucking video picture of it, okay? Jesus.
How dare you?
Speaking of Destiny, my favorite sighting of him shilling for Israel lately is that interview that he did, kind of a debate with Norman Finkelstein. And Norman Finkelstein, by the way, he has the sense of humor of a drag queen. Like, the guy can read you to filth. In this interview, he kept calling Destiny the wrong name on purpose. Oh, it's delicious.
Your name, please?
Stephen Bonnell.
Okay.
12 seconds later.
They literally
Mr. Borelli, Mr. Borelli, with all due respect, you're such a fantastic moron. It's terrifying.
By the way, Norman Finkelstein is an icon. He is my bitch. And I played him in drag, by the way. I'm not sure how he feels about it, but I love him anyway. But back to the topic of these independent sources speaking up for Israel.
We're going to Israel. We have a lot of fans there, so we decided Israel. Gabe's crying, guys. It's okay. Does anybody get to do this or not?
Yeah, all the celebrities, you check me on YouTube after Shimon Kayam, all the celebrities in Israel, all over the world wrote.
Hit that pill, turn me to a superhero.
Now, recently, a pair of pro-Trump Canadian prankster YouTubers called the Nelk Boys interviewed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you, Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
The double.
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long time. Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah. Israel has increased their Hasbara budget, which is their propaganda machine, with $150 million. And part of that money goes to influence people in college campuses, hire influencers like you, getting them into fancy trips to Israel, giving them this filtered, layered picture. So even if October 7th didn't happen, you were used in a propaganda machine. So you were recruited in March 2023, and you were activated in July 2025.
And once again, even though that there's no proof of payment slips to these people, here's an old gem.
This is so strange. My video of me talking about how I was offered $5,000 to support Israel publicly on my TikTok page was just taken down. This email was sent to my business email that I have set up with my management, where they basically say if I go live and pledge my support to Israel, they'll give me $5,000, saying I've fallen for the lies of rabid dogs and it's essential to not spread the lies of terrorists. An absolutely horrible racist email. And I know I'm far from the only influencer right now who's getting emails and offers like this. This was the comment section of that video. One mutual got offered $2,500, another mutual got offered $750.
That's why Israel and its supporters keep accusing people who speak up for Palestine that they're being paid by Hamas or Iran. They're projecting. Now here's another one of the Israeli spokespeople who's speaking up for Israel because supposedly it's the moral thing to do, right?
Let me ask you, in the conflict of Israel versus Hamas, who's the good guy?
I believe both Hamas and the Israeli government are evil.
It was also a moral truth that the war started because 1,300 Jews were killed and 200 were taken hostage. And when you declare war on Israel, expect a firestorm in reaction.
What's interesting in the case of Charlie Kirk is that just last year, he was singing a completely different tune. He was actually casting doubt on October 7 and the role of the Israeli government.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun, right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. There were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu is basically redefining the Israeli constitution. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked.
The only operation and entity to blame is the leadership of Hamas, not the Israeli government, for fighting this defensive war after they were invaded.
So what changed, Charlie? Did a check arrive in the mail? I guess we'll never know for sure, but somehow the Israeli government is getting these independent sources to shill for it. Now, what is the antidote to this pillar of camouflaging the spokespeople? Because in every pillar, I'm going to provide an antidote, like how we can combat it. And because this pillar is about camouflaging the real source behind these talking points, the antidote is to never lose sight of the center connecting all these influencers. And that source is the Israeli government and its main funder, the US.
Well, here we all are together having a nice family dinner.
I think Iran wants to meet. I think they want to make peace, and I'm all for it.
Don't listen to her. She's getting senile.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved.
Just shut up! You may clear the first course, Garcia.
Thank you very much.
Now let's move on to the second pillar of Israel's Hasbara 2.0. Offend, not defend. No more winning hearts and minds, because it's impossible. Just attack.
אני אישית גאה בהריסות של עזה, ושכל תינוק, גם עוד 80 שנה מהיום, יספר לנכדיו מה עשו היהוד.
I can understand if the Israeli propaganda tries to explain, to cover up, to spread lies, to talk about self-defense, to talk about Israel's security. But to be proud of what we are doing, to be proud of slaughtering 20,000 children, how can a human being get out those words out of his mouth? Again, all these new tactics are rooted in the fact that they know that the world hates them. So might as well go on the attack. It's like the mafia boss in the final act of the movie.
Say hello to my little friend!
No more sweet talking points. Just deliver what you believe with unapologetic conviction. We want those Palestinians out of the land.
I cannot begin to describe to you the depth of the grief, the pain, and the shock.
So take them. Take them, really. Why don't you want to take them?
Take them! Take them! Take them! Take them! The fuck? You cannot kick someone out of their home and then blame other people for not helping them. The original crime is yours. I've said this in so many videos before. Like, I love how they think that that's an argument. The responsibility is on you. not on other people for not stepping in to stop you from killing.
Why don't you want to take them?
Not only is it insane, like how cruel must you be to say such things and completely ignoring the fact that there are people who are being starved and humiliated and degraded. The fact that that doesn't even occur to you.
بدور لي أكثر من أسبوع على حليب شملاكي لقيت اليوم امبارح لقيت حليب تاريخه منتهي الصلاحية لولد عمره شهر وأسبوع أنا بدي قاعد في الليل بدي يرضع من أمه وأنا ماسك الرضع حطفت أمه وهو يصيح وأنا يصيح مش قبلان نرضع يا عمي
5 أيام مش ماكلة
والله أنا بالمرة يعني وضعي بالمرة عشان أنا عايشة لحالي وحيدة.
وين أهلك وين عيلتك؟
أبوي وأمي متوفين والباقي العيلة في نواحي بعرفش يعني بسبب الحرب بتنقلش وما بسألش عن حد.
اقسم بالله احنا هنا لما واحد بياكل عارف انه صاحبه ما بياكل او جاره ما بياكل والله بحس حاله خاين.
So take them really. Why don't you want to take them? Why don't you want to take them?
But this pillar of offend, not defend, is all about laying bare the plans of this project. But of course, what they're selling is that they are being pushed into being offensive, as though Palestinians have left them with no choice but to behave in this way.
ברגע שההיסטוריה השתנתה על ידי הטבח, עזה סיימה את תפקידה במתכונת הקודמת. לא יהיו יותר And
the antidote to this tactic is that simply we have to double down on the truth. That Zionists choose this and want this.
בכלל עזתים? גם לא אזרחים?
בכלל.
לאן הם ילכו אבל דניאלה?
For example, this insane woman Daniela who says like after October 7, we're left with no choice.
But just to be clear, you have nothing to say about 20,000 children being killed.
I have a lot to say about everything that happened as a result of the massacre of the 7th of October.
Understand. But here she is in the 80s saying the same thing.
I don't see how any person, whether Arab or of any other nationality or any other origin, finding his future here unless he fully 100% identifies with the Zionist idea.
But I just asked you how you thought about 20,000 children being killed by the IDF. So how do you feel about that?
I think that the parents should be very careful before they teach the children to hate Jews.
Who let you in here, Garcia? Someone get this deranged woman out of here. Garcia!
Now let's go to another one of Israel's pioneer female terrorists speaking truth years ago.
I'm a Palestinian. From 21 until 48, I carried a Palestinian passport.
But to go back to the second pillar of offend, not defend strategy, even though the Zionists are starting to use this more and more, instead of defending, just going on the offensive, because they know they enjoy impunity, so they know they can offend, like no one will stop them. Even though they use that, they still can't help but present themselves as noble. For example, how they are framing the latest attack on Syria. It's so laughable that they think anyone believes that what they're doing in Syria is about protecting the minorities in Syria. Because they can't fabricate a story of being attacked by Syrians. So now they have to present themselves as some kind of Superman. They're going in to save the Druze.
Turning now to Syria, some extraordinary developments. Israel bombing the capital of Syria, including the command and control network of the Syrian General Staff, as well as the Syrian presidential palace. So you're watching just, I mean, this is wild, like out in the open. And you may ask, so what the hell is actually going on here?
רואים פה תופעה שחוזרת על עצמה של התנכלות למיעוטים עד כדי רצח ופוגרומים בסוריה.
This is all a gigantic noise machine that the Americans amplify and the Europeans amplify.
Facing calls from Israeli Druze to help Syrian Druze, Israeli leaders have cited protecting them as a reason for attacking Syria repeatedly this year.
We all know that the real goal of Israel and the US in the region is complete domination.
אני מבקש לעדכן אתכם מה עשינו בסוריה ומה נעשה בסוריה. אנחנו קבענו מדיניות ברורה. פירוז המרחב דרומית לדמשק, מהגולן ועד אזור הר הדרוזים.
Crazy
crazy thing is that this Syrian government had already basically been like, you're right, we answer to you.
Exactly.
You can take over the Golan Heights.
But it's not enough.
The guy who leads Syria now is literally from the Golan Heights.
I know.
And he's like effectively ceded the territory to Israel. I mean, there's a reason why the Trump administration dropped the sanctions on him and redesignated HTS, which was his organization. It's like, oh, they're totally not terrorists anymore. It's because they were playing ball and doing everything that America and Israel wanted them to do. But it is still not enough for the Israelis.
As long as you all are under my roof, things are going to be done my way, starting now.
And that only happens if you balkanize every country and turn its inhabitants against each other. By the way, this is what Israel is like every time they see peace in the Arab world, when they see Arabs getting along.
Stop that! Stop it!
Speaking of Syria, do you want to know what Israelis are up to in Syria right now?
אני נמצא פה עם תינוק שבעצם אתה גר במסג'ד אל-שמס, תינוק מסוריה. כן, מסוריה. מה זה? התינוק של מי התינוק? זה משפחה שלי, בן אחותי. וואו. כן. אתה לוקח את התינוק מסוריה לישראל? כן. בינתיים, עד שאחמד שרה יחליט מה הוא רוצה לעשות.
These people are godless, and what they do has nothing to do with Judaism. Which brings me to the third pillar in this video, which is linking Zionism with the Jewish identity, to try and thwart any criticism against Israel as a project.
Let's just get this straight. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is not just racism or hatred. It's a shape-shifting conspiracy theory.
In the last 21 months, it's becoming clearer to see the nature of Israel as a project, right? To see that Zionism is itself an obstacle to peace. And people can see that this fantasy of two states has always been nothing but that. Just a cover-up. Like, how can you have a Palestinian state when you've not only cut up Palestine into two areas that are geographically apart from each other, you're also tearing up the parts like the West Bank itself. There's never been real steps being taken towards a two-state. But 20, 30, 40 years ago, people still used to believe that. But now people see that the real solution, real peace, comes from freedom for everyone between the river and the sea.
I don't know anyone who is an activist, half-time or full-time, who doesn't talk now openly about the need to decolonize Palestine, to bring down Zionism, freedom from the river to the sea. We got used to it as if this was always chanted in demonstration for Palestine. It was not. I remember the 1995 demonstration in London, 2 states for 2 people. That was the slogan of 500,000 people. That does not exist anymore. So the lobby is now facing not only criticism of the State of Israel, but a real challenge to the legitimacy of the Zionist project.
And because people see all of that, this new PR strategy has to double down on linking Zionism to Jewish identity. Like, they've always highlighted the Jewish religion, right? But now that the term anti-Zionist Jew is getting more traction, they have to double down on linking any criticism of Israel and Zionism with anti-Semitism. Like this latest attack on a bake sale that's raising money for starving Palestinians is being called anti-Semitic in Europe. A bake sale. Think about that. Feeding Palestinians is being labeled as anti-Semitic. Beyond how horrific that is to Palestinians, because Palestinians don't factor to these people, think of the damage this is doing to Judaism. But it's actually very telling. To Zionists, wanting to feed Palestinians is anti-Semitic because starving them and putting pressure on them, on Palestinians, is one of the tactics of Zionism to achieve its goal, which is to drive Palestinians off the land. But the architects of image and PR for Israel are working extra hard to prevent you from knowing all of this, and making the knowing about any of this an attack on Jewish identity, which brings us back to this pillar.
But I'm also very outspoken about Palestinian right to resistance and right to return. And so these are things that are getting flagged by Facebook's higher up, the execs, you know. And I actually had Jordana Cutler, Israel's meta policy chief for Israel and the diaspora. This is a real title that she gave herself. She popped up in my Instagram story views, and I knew I was cooked. I was like, oh my God, like they're about to take my whole account down. I texted a few friends, and then within an hour, my account was gone.
That is why we have long-standing policies against terrorism. This balance between free expression and safety has never been more important.
But it's all concocted, it's all curated, it's all fabricated, like everything Israeli.
I'm a Jew.
Of course I'm Zionist. Israel is my ancestral indigenous homeland. I'm also Muslim and a Zionist because Allah granted the land of Israel to...
So what's the antidote to this pillar, you ask? This pillar that Zionism is Judaism?
I am very proud to be Jewish, and I have found that practicing my Judaism means advocating for a free Palestine.
Simple. Exposing that Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism.
Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live!
Zionism is sadism.
My family is so starving. They only got 5 trucks of humanitarian aid. Please donate, link in the bio. That's the only shit they know how to play. No, okay, they know how to play one more thing. Fake dead baby. You want to see me win a Palestinian Oscar right now?
Clap if you've ever wanted to kill somebody.
Speaking of hijacking Judaism, we've come to the 4th pillar in this new PR, which is reinventing Jewish victimhood. This is essentially taking the gaslighting of Jews, which they've always done, to the next level.
This is a message mostly for Jews in the diaspora, just about the insane anti-Semitism you're experiencing. All the aggression and hostility and hate and intimidation and Jew hate that's part of your lives now. It's not by accident. It's very deliberate by design, and it was planned before October 7th.
In a sense, you could say that October 7 is that event that all this Jewish trauma education has been leading up to.
Another quite known thing is they take you to see the Holocaust camps in Poland. And of course, it's kind of an ending point after studying a lot about the Holocaust. And then you come to the point where you go and you see it with your own eyes. You experience it and you smell it, and they really want you to go through that process physically. But one of the things that is happening within those tours is that there's always a guide who is practiced to do that. But the guides are mostly trained, they're Israelis, they speak in Hebrew, and then they are trained to tell these kids who are going to go to the army next year the connection between what was done to us and why we have to be soldiers. So it's way beyond that it's just obligatory by law in Israel that you go to the army. You go there with your heart because you just saw what was done to the Jews. Very, very often, those guides are showing children what was happening in the camps is through playing music, telling stories, making it very highly emotional. So they would tell, for example, the whole class now, 30, 40 kids, should go inside like a train wagon that was left in Auschwitz. You should feel how it is to be squeezed into this train like happened to our grandparents. On a side note, I would say that not all these kids are Holocaust survivor descendants. Why people who came from North Africa are supposed to cry now in the camp in Auschwitz because of what happened to the Jews. My solution was that they cry because it's just horrible. As a human being, you cry. But the guides of those tours would make them feel as if it's their story. And I remember something that had an influence on me. 2 stories I can tell. One was that, like in the break, some of the kids would say, "What is wrong with me? I'm not crying." They felt really, really bad that they don't feel sad. And that was quite a realization for me. The status quo, the expectation is that you come to this trip and you're going to break.
So as a foundation, we know why Hasbara works so well on Jews themselves. It's incredible. You can tell Zionist Israeli Jews who still support Israel anything. You could show them videos of the Israeli soldiers laughing while playing with the toys of the children they killed. They're like, no. We're the victims. I've said this a million times in previous videos. Like, the other victim besides Palestinians of Israel are actually Israeli Jews. So I understand, however frustrated I feel, why Jews see the world through a prism of victimhood. It makes sense, psychologically speaking. But now it's gone into overdrive. We need to wrap this up, babe. October 7 is 2 years behind us. And at this point, you've decimated Gaza, you've crushed people under the rubble. Like, this lust for revenge, which is understandable, should have been satiated by now. And since it hasn't, you know you're mentally ill. Okay?
Your tone seems very pointed right now.
No, but seriously, like, they can't help but see themselves as victims. That's real. They're not faking that part. And that's because of what Israel does. It leaves them no room. Any chance they have to start questioning this project and what it does, they come out with a new angle on this victimhood story. And now, for example, they brought up that old hoax about rape on October 7, because nothing is more visceral and carries so much emotional weight like rape does.
The media are hyping this report with the claim that there are new witnesses and new evidence to support the report's claims that Hamas ordered and organized mass rapes on October 7th as a weapon of war. You've read the report. Does it contain any new evidence, witnesses, or even victims?
The short answer is no, and as we've reported over the past 21 months, despite the flood of claims about October 7, Israel has not identified a single specific victim, living or dead. This report changes nothing. It includes no first-hand testimony of any rape. The only new element is a claim of a single, what they call attempted rape, at the Nova Festival, but even that comes with no detail, just a footnote claiming that a female survivor, designated only as A, gave her account to the Dina Project. The report also says 15 former captives experienced some form of broadly defined sexual violence. The point here is, even if all these claims are taken as true, none of it substantiates the central allegation in this report that Hamas organized, ordered, and implemented a mass rape campaign on and after October 7.
But as fake as all this is, it brings up that kind of lizard brain of, I'm only trying to survive. Even though the facts on the ground prove that Palestinians aren't able to survive, it's baked in so deep in their psyche because of the upbringing that anyone around them is an obstacle to their survival. So when you call Israeli soldiers criminals for the crimes we see them commit, they go,
Excuse, what may I ask? Do you mean by that?
And when you kick these Israeli tourists out of cafes and restaurants around the world because of their association to their crimes,
Why is everyone turning against me now?
as insufferable as they are, it makes sense why they behave this way, because this stuff did not start on October 7.
Another thing that was an eye-opening for me was that we were sitting at the edge of the camp of Birkenau, I think, next to, it's called Auschwitz-Birkenau. And it was also a beautiful day, and the guide was talking about, look, this is the edge of the camp. What do you see? He asked the kids, because you see the fence, and the kids were saying, yeah, we see that, you know, there's a field. They could see that there's a little town of people are living around it. And the kids, there was a discussion starting to happen. The kids were saying, these people have lived here, right? They've always lived here, also then in the 40s. Why didn't they do anything? They could see what was happening, or they could smell the flesh from the crematorium of people being burned alive. They could hear maybe screams. They must have known what's going on. It's been happening for a few years. And the kids were really asking that, and I couldn't not think of specifically Gaza. And I felt like this would be the right connection educationally with the kids. Not to tell them, yeah, you see, they didn't do anything because they're all anti-Semites, which is a voice that you hear often in Israel generally, not only in the education system. This feeling of growing up as a victim who became strong. So I'm a victim, and I will always stay a victim in a way, but at the same time I have a strong army, and I am a humanist and democratic.
Even intelligent people who are rigorous thinkers and talented artists will still go back to Jewish victimhood, like that actor.
And I ask Jews all over the world to consider what this man, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his right-wing government is doing to the Jewish people all over the world. They are endangering not only the state of Israel, which I care deeply about and want to exist, but they are endangering the Jewish population all over the world.
To him, the genocide in Gaza is bad mainly because of what it's doing to the reputation of Jews.
And to watch what is happening for the Jewish people, to allow this to happen to children and civilians of all ages in Gaza, for whatever reason, is unconscionable and unthinkable. And I ask you Jews everywhere all over the world to spend some time alone and think, is this acceptable and sustainable? How could it be done to you and your ancestors, and you turn around and you do it to someone else?
And that little guttural sound in that. Girl, no. Absolutely not. It's very ant scene. Like this performance, no babe. I know you believe it. You're doing method or I don't know what the fuck is happening. Give him an Emmy, but please stop. But it's really like a disease, this victimhood they have. It's like, what in the world? Children are crying out from starvation, looking at their parents in Palestine, and you think this is bad because of what it's doing to the reputation of Jews? Babes. Bubala. Sweetie pie.
Get a grip, get a life, and get over.
Speaking of this deeply ingrained victimhood complex in otherwise intelligent people, I mentioned earlier that comedian writer Lee Kern, who appeared on that podcast State of Tel Aviv, hosted by Vivian Berkovici, who is a former ambassador of Canada to Israel. Basically, a government official pretending to be a podcaster spreading truth. She's currently, as I mentioned earlier, doing a series about why Piers Morgan is an anti-Semite or problematic.
On Friday, late afternoon Israel time, State of Tel Aviv published the first of this three-part series looking at the Piers Morgan Uncensored show, focused on how the host, celebrity media man, treats issues relating to Israel.
And she invited Lee Kern on to congratulate him on what an honorable thing he did by not going on Piers Morgan.
What's different about you, Lee, is that you never went on, even though they asked you to. And you never went on out of principle.
He was going on and on about how materialistic Piers Morgan is, and clout chasing and attention chasing, all of which are things to be true. But this is not why you're not going on the show, honey.
I don't need his platform to do what I want to do in life. Like, it's like if you were to offer me £1 million now to eat shit, I'd say, fuck you, I'll make £1 million off the back of my own talent. And so if you transpose that onto someone like Piers Morgan, he's so clearly and palpably a repulsive, attention whore, narcissistic pig.
This is not the reason why you're not going on. You're not going on because you don't want to be confronted with the truth. Say what you will about Piers, and there's a lot to say about Piers. He's not doing any of this because he cares about Palestinians. I don't think he loses a second of sleep over Palestinians. He does this for clicks. Yes, that's true. But he's invited a lot of not only pro-Palestinian voices, Jewish pro-Palestinian voices who are very intelligent, who dismantle this victimhood complex.
Palestinians are often blamed for walking away from a so-called generous peace offer at Camp David in July 2000. That's the peace offer that everyone likes to cite for why Palestinians have turned down this prospect of a state. Even the Israeli foreign minister who transmitted that offer, Shlomo Ben-Ami, he later said, if I were Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well. That's because he recognized that the Israeli offer would have kept all of Israel's major West Bank settlement blocks that make a Palestinian state impossible.
So Lee Kern is smart. He's smart enough to know that he cannot go on and have a debate with someone like that and be confronted. He doesn't want to be confronted with the reality. So he refuses, and he tells himself it's because Piers Morgan is beneath him, that show is beneath him. Even though it's not beneath him to make fun of Piers's bloated face. As if that's a critique, that his face is bloated. You're so petty and clout chasing like the rest of us who put ourselves in front of the camera. Get off your moral high horse, honey.
And I'm not gonna be able to shift the cathedral of narcissism that he's constructing. I'm just a little brick that he'll use to add to make it high. And anyone who goes on it is another brick building it higher with, instead of a cross on the top of his cathedral, it's his fucking bloated face.
I love how these Zionists suddenly have a problem with Piers because he's criticizing Israel. And again, Piers is not doing it because he gives a shit about Palestinians. Piers is doing it because he can see the tide is shifting. And he goes where the tide goes. He's obsessed with fame. That's true. But they didn't have a problem with Piers when he was on the side of Israel. Then he was okay. But the moment that struck me in this interview with Lee Kern on the State of Tel Aviv podcast is when he started talking about UNRWA, which is not only the lifeline of Palestinians. UNRWA keeps track of all the refugees around the world and their right to return. And his critique of UNRWA is that it's filling the minds of Palestinians and the diaspora with fantasies about their right to return to this land. This coming from a man who recently moved to Israel, a British man who has a home in the UK and a British citizenship. recently moved to Israel because he believes his ancestors come from there. This man is critical of UNRWA for reminding Palestinians that they have a home. The delusion these people are in.
He's the UNRWA of entertainment. Like UNRWA perpetuates the conflict. They've got a vested interest in it. They don't want the conflict to end because it's a racket. They're profiteering off it like hell. It's putting money in their profits. They don't want the war to end. They want to keep refugees forever. Even if you're second generation, born in America, got a house job, they'll classify as refugee. They want to keep the conflict open.
You're delusional, bitch, and not in a cute way. Not like, that's fun. No, it's dangerous. This is how you know Israel has done a real number on Jews, on their brains. It robbed them from the ability to hear themselves talk. And what Zionism does to the brains of these Israeli Jews, it really regresses them back to childhood because it makes them see the world in this kind of very Disney-like, the other side is this cartoonish villain.
The level of intention to build such underground cathedrals of evil.
These people really live in a fantasy land. That the other side is evil. Like these tunnels. Do you know that these tunnels also carry food that's prevented from entering Gaza? And I'm not even talking about since October 7. Like the tunnels, yes, there's a lot of... I'm not here to talk about Hamas, okay? I'm talking about the other uses of the tunnels. Because there's a blockade on Gaza. A very cruel one, very sadistic one for decades. They completely overlook the idea. They don't even see it, probably. The Palestinians are also human beings. Their families, their parents, their wives, their children, their sons, their friends. They don't exist just to harm you, Lee. They're also afraid. The reality is that Palestinians in Gaza are going through inconceivable pain and starvation, humiliation and fear. The countless videos, as I'm sure you've also seen in the last few weeks of Palestinians starving, they appear on my feed as I scroll, but sandwiched with other stuff. Because I'm obsessed with babies. Yes, I am that girl. I get all these videos of babies playing with their parents. Not just babies in Gaza, babies around the world. So I look at videos like this and I think to myself, don't Palestinian parents want to do that with their children? Of course they do. But instead they get this.
أنا هروح الجنة عشان تحملت لما أبويا استشهد. يا رب أروح عند أبويا.
اسمع في الجنة ما نجوعش، فيش جوع.
بس في حاجات.
طبعا.
إذا جعبالي شوكولاتة هآخد.
صح. عارف إيش في كمان؟ دجاج. لحمة.
But to go back to the Zionists, in their mind no one can feel pain but them. It's just deeply ingrained. There is someone I know who's Ukrainian with Jewish heritage. That person is so bitter that people are speaking about Palestine. Why aren't they speaking about Ukraine? That Zionist mindset, which can infect people of all races, by the way. With this, nobody can be a victim but me. It's like this oppression Olympics.
Oh, Jesus. Gross.
So this brings us back to this pillar of the new Hasbara, how they reinvented the Jewish victimhood. The antidote to this sick belief is uncovering the real truth that Israel is not the victim, Israel is the aggressor. A very powerful aggressor who acts with complete impunity.
Look at these delicious cookies.
And this is the real victim.
أنا بتمنى أموت أنا وياهم في نفس اليوم. مرض صعب. أصعب إشي في الحياة الإنسان يكون صحته تعبانة.
Speaking of this inversion of reality, do you know this Israeli woman called Fleur Hassan Naum? She's the deputy mayor of Jerusalem who speaks with a fake British accent. What a charmer. She's the kind of woman who, those people who are so dumb but think they're clever, they drop these lines, you're like, no babe, it's not giving what you think it's giving. You're an idiot. Judea and Samaria. Who calls a piece of land after the Bible and not be aware that they are religious extremists? These people are Judea and Samaria. Nobody is there. Habibti, we see the videos of the settlers attacking the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, which is the West Bank. What do you mean there's no one there? Anyways, she hosts this program on YouTube. It's called The Quad. These feisty, sassy other, Zionist ladies.
And welcome back, everybody, to The Quad. And this week, we have a very special episode because we've taken The Quad on the road. Yes, indeed. We're in D.C. for the Kufi Conference, Christians United for Israel. And being here in this conference with incredible speakers, all of them with one-mindedly supporting Israel, has been, to me, therapy. I feel embraced. I feel loved. I can go out there to the world to be hated some more. But yes, here there are very strong women too.
Always with the identity politics, in the dumbest, most superficial way.
Alyssa, you
have written a very interesting, or you're writing, or you're in the process of writing a book with a very interesting title.
It's a little provocative. I'm using the 3 words that my haters and critics have used to weaponize against me the most.
Go on.
To silence me. So it's called White Blonde Jew.
Oh my.
It's all about rejecting extremism
Right.
and inspiring truth tellers to start using their voice in rooms filled with silence.
You're from Nashville.
I am.
What's going on over there?
You go 15 minutes outside the city lines, everybody is pro-Israel.
Basically, they're always discussing how to do better PR for Israel. That's all they're doing.
We look forward to reading your book. Maybe you'll come and do a tour in Israel.
I love that.
As all things Zionist is full of dangerous conflations. Like there was one segment, they're talking about Mamdani, the mayor in New York, or the one who's going to be a mayor in October. He's a Muslim guy, and they're discussing how that is driving the rich people out of New York. And then they, keep going with the conversation. Oh, similarly, there's also the Muslim mayor of London who's doing a terrible job. All the rich people are leaving there.
These people are going to flee New York City. New York City is going to fall apart.
Which, by the way, is what's happening in London. All of the wealthy people, the big taxpayers, they're all fleeing out because it's horrible, anti-Semitic, with a terrible Muslim mayor.
Do you even know what you're saying? Like this is what, somehow a conflict between poverty-stricken Muslims and liberal rich people? Like, what are you saying? You know how dangerous that is to Judaism even? It's incredible how much of a disservice these people do to Judaism. It's really stunning. Like you're sitting around here, 4 sassy ladies, like you're on The View, discussing how you're going to eliminate a Muslim mayor.
Terrible Muslim mayor who's not been very helpful to anyone. And this brings me to the work that you guys are doing today.
And this delusional get-together reminded me of something Alon Mizrahi said on the Mizrahi Perspective. Follow his YouTube channel. Incredible, by the way, stuff. He talks about how Zionists never gather for anything good. Like they're always trying to silence someone, get rid of someone, threaten someone. Like they're never discussing anything productive.
You will never in your life hear about Zionist Israelis organizing for something normal. It doesn't exist. They always organize to destroy someone else, to stop someone from understanding something, to stop people from knowing something, to deceive, to spy, to do whatever kind of fuckery.
Also this delusion they're under threat. In London alone, the police is arresting anyone who's holding a sign saying no genocide. Like the entire police force is behind you, the security apparatus, all the powerful people are behind you. You're not the downtrodden, you're not David, you're Goliath, honey. This idea that these, women on the quad, they need to get together and, we need to double up on our activism. Like Israel and its allies makes people disappear on your behalf. You're not the weak ones here. And again, they're discussing it like these 4 sassy girls on The View. Boop. Boop, 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 boop.
I mean, honestly, I just wish there could be a fly on the wall of what we've experienced here in the last few days, because we've seen people who have clarity.
Girl, please. No.
Now on to the 5th pillar of this Hasbara 2.0. Hiding the money. Israel will now fund pro-Israel advocacy groups all over the world through public benefit corporations so that bank transfer looks like it's coming from these public benefit corporations instead of the Israeli government. The Israel Ministry of Diaspora Affairs allocated $2 million to an AstroTurf campaign to create hundreds of fake accounts across social media. The accounts targeted dozens of US Congress members. The accounts were disguised as concerned American students and constituents and cited articles by fake websites called Non-Agenda and Unfold magazine. Many posts were written by ChatGPT, as owner of OpenAI confirmed, and Meta claimed to have worked to disrupt the campaign.
We've all heard about the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, the powerful pro-Israel lobby group shaping US politics. But little is known about its main counterparts operating across the Atlantic in Europe and England. So, who's behind the group? What do they want, and why are they operating under the radar? Meet ELNET, Europe's most influential Israel lobby group. ELNET, which stands for European Leadership Network, presents itself as an NGO promoting shared democratic values between Europe and Israel.
Of course, it's impossible to think of all this advocacy work, whether covert or out in the open, without thinking of those all-expense-paid trips to Israel.
But how is ELNET influencing European and British politicians? Simple. Direct engagement. ELNET cultivates personal ties with key figures and individual lawmakers. As a core tactic, it sends lawmakers on luxury, all expenses paid trips to Israel, framing them as educational experiences.
Are you saying that AIPAC sending Congress to Israel is the proof that the Israeli government is influencing U.S. politics? Technically, we are not sending those 40 to 60 members of Congress to Israel every year. 40 to 60? That is all done by AIEF. Who's AIEF? An educational nonprofit. Your educational nonprofit? I will maintain legal and rhetorical distance from that.
Now, what's the antidote to this pillar of hiding the money is to literally follow the money.
I'm Jewish enough for a free trip to Israel, and in my early 20s I went to Israel, and right when I got off the plane, people told me, you could become a citizen within 24 hours. You're Jewish enough. You should move here. What I didn't know is that when Israel became a state, I thought that all the governments just gave Jewish people money to buy houses. They bought out Palestinians, and the neighborhoods naturally segregated. I didn't understand. And they almost got me. I'm ethical as fuck, and they almost got me. Jews need to start talking about birthright trip. Any American or European right now can go to Israel for free on a trip off of whose money?
It's all about the money. Everything about Israel as a project leads back to capitalism. Even the supporters of Israel who have an ideological bend always subconsciously let it slip what they think Israel is. Or rather, what they think the problem with Palestine is, which is that Palestine is not capitalistic enough.
Gaza's hell, and it's not because of the innocent people in Gaza. It's because of the people that run that place, and they've ran it into the ground. There should be casinos, there should be strip clubs, there should be Chick-fil-A's, there should be Starbucks, there should be the Gaza International Film Festival, and it never, ever is going to happen because of Hamas.
This is what would make Gaza a good place in your eyes? Strip clubs? Now, this wraps up the 5 pillars, as I mentioned, but I do want to highlight this is almost the last one I touched on, which is the trips, that they fly people over to Israel to show them the real side of Israel. And I want to highlight it because I want to highlight its antidote, which is basically to encourage people to travel to see what's really going on. Because everyone who travels to the West Bank always comes back and describes it as a transformative experience, because there you really see the apartheid with your eyes.
This is my first time coming into Al-Aqsa Mosque after being beaten up by IDF soldiers. Do you want to know why? I absolutely have no idea. This is what happened, okay? I was staying here at night, worshiping Allah, minding my own business. My friend wanted to order a pizza, so he ordered a pizza. He was like, yeah, can you go outside to pick it up? I was like, yeah, I'll go outside to pick it up. And I didn't come back. You know why? Because I went outside to pick it up, picked up the pizza, was trying to walk inside. I don't know if you know, but in front of every gate, there's like a checkpoint. There are a couple of soldiers that check you. The guy's like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Canada. I was just outside to pick up the pizza, and I'm coming back. So, like, no introduction. He just shoved me to a wall, slapped me, cursed my God. Then he's like, go away. I just looked at him. I'm like, what the? My stuff is inside. I just went out to pick up pizza. I don't know what's going on here. Slapped me again, pushed me again. He's like, don't come back. Go home. I was so confused. Like, what in the actual hell is going on? So I was like, okay, what people do here, if they're not allowed into one gate, they just go to another gate, and they usually let them in because there's no system here. It's just based on the person's mood. So I just went to another gate. While I'm walking towards the other gate, about 6 IDF soldiers looked at me, recognized me, and they started running towards me. And I was looking like I was inside like 5 seconds ago. What is going on? That's when I knew that, the person that kicked me out told them at the walkie-talkie, green hoodie guy with the pizza, don't let him in. So they basically came and surrounded me. 2 guys on both sides just like held me and pressed me kind of hard. And this is when I felt just a little bit, like a tiny little bit of what Palestinians feel.
ضربوك محمد؟ أنا مسحوا فيه الأرض. حمود انضربت؟
تبقى رايح بدك حاطط برامج، بدك تروح تطش، بدك تروح تسافر، بدك تروح تعمل أي شيء، تعال على الغرفة 5 جنود بيضبطوا لك وضعك، بتوكل كتل مظبط يعني.
Can you imagine living like that? This is the stuff that Israeli PR is always trying to hide. The old PR tactics and the new ones that we're calling Hasbara 2.0. And the goal of this Hasbara 2.0 is to shift your perception without you realizing that Israel is behind that shift. So we need to keep our eyes open so that we and the rest of the world can continue to see Israel for what it is. We can't ever lose sight of that as a goal.
Oh, those propaganda people, they love to speak about figures. Aren't they 1,000 babies less than 1 year killed? No, they know it's only 700 babies killed. Hamas is exaggerating. And if it is 700 babies killed, can we live with it? None of them was killed in purpose? How dare you to spread this propaganda knowing that you are lying. There is a daily massacre in Gaza now.
You know, sometimes when I witness all the horrors that are still going on for 21 months, and to also see that some people are still defending it, I think, what's the point of making all these videos? What's the point of creating? I'm so overwhelmed by the pain that I'm witnessing, and then I think,
I can barely even concentrate, let alone create.
Then I remember what I was put here on this planet to do, which is, like all of us, to use our skills. And in my case, it's the skill of being a storyteller, clown, drag, whatever you want to call it. So darlings, let's keep talking about Palestine in our different ways, using our different gifts and skill sets.
Kids in Gaza are starving. We gotta change it up. Bombs be dropping. People be shopping. Bombs are dropping. Oh, people be shopping though.
I chose to do my demonstration during my curtain call, a moment for myself. I chose to make it about something bigger than me. I did it because I want to draw attention to the atrocities that are taking place towards the Palestinian people by Israeli Defense Forces currently in Gaza. The people who get to go and see opera, who have the opportunity to go and see opera, are the ones with power and influence to be able to help. However, they're remaining silent. So I find it disgusting that my act of resistance has been called inappropriate by the Royal Opera House. When the curtain came down, Oliver Mears came on stage and said to me very aggressively, "You will never work for the Opera House ever again." In which I responded, "I don't give a flying fuck."
Invitado, gracias. Fuera de aquí. Matas Palestina, vais a comer en Gaza. En Gaza hay cerveza buena. Nada. Hijos de puta, matan gente, vienen a hacer vacaciones. Fuera de aquí. ¿Qué hago este zapato? ¡Viva no! ¡Viva Palestina! ¡Libre! ¡Viva Palestina! ¡Libre!
اخواننا المصريين الجزائر اللي فيها عدس وارز مصطف على بحر غزه، هذه القنيه جابها صياد من جوا البحر، تقول انه في بعض الجنان البسيطه جدا اجت على غزه، يعني اليوم حياكل عدس وفيها كاس بركات وفيها تحيا.
صعيد يا أبا يا حبيبي يا صعيد خبرتنا منه يا أبا